Hi, this is Diane Scott, and welcome to the Best Boss podcast. I'm here and so pleased and honored to introduce to you Jamie Woolf. She's the co founder and CEO of Creativity Partners and the former director of culture at Pixar. So, thank you so much for agreeing to do our podcast, and I really appreciate your time.
Diane, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, tell me about the journey from Pixar to co founder and CEO of Creativity Partners. How did that work?
Yeah. Well, I had been at Pixar for 12 years and it was remarkable. It was, I met the most creative, funny, brilliant, humble people I
Mm,
had ever met in the workplace. And I thought when I came into Pixar, it would be a lot of ego. It's Pixar. And I said to Ed Catmull, who hired me, who was then the president and the co-founder of Pixar, I said, animation's like not my genre. My kids love it. I love it, but it's really not my genre. So I just want to put that out there because you might not want to hire me. Well, I will say after working at Pixar for 12 years, it is my genre
mm,
because I had a front row seat to see the magic of blending art and story and technology in this beautiful alchemy, which become these masterpiece films that move our hearts. So 12 years, it was remarkable. I managed Pixar University, and Ed brought me in to be constructively disruptive because there were some things that were happening at Pixar after so much success, as often happens in organizations. Pixar was growing conservative, and Ed feared that the films would become derivative. And so there was also favoritism. We had five white male directors, all the films you love. And so he realized that there was the old boys network and favoritism, and he was very transparent about that, and he wanted to shake that up. So I felt that after 12 years, I had done meaningful work and it was time to spread my wings and bring some of what I learned to financial organizations and healthcare and technology, places that wouldn't call themselves creatives. But I think we all have a need, especially in these times, to be innovative and to expand the way we think so that we can solve the world's vexing problems. So I felt like there was a need out there beyond the walls of Pixar. So I founded Creativity Partners about 2 years ago.
excellent. I'm going to switch to gallery view because you talked to me about art and having it equal. So all of those pieces that you learned um, with your time there, how did that transition into Creativity Partners?
Well, it's interesting because at Pixar, obviously it's a creative company. And so a lot of the leaders I would meet with in companies that wouldn't call themselves creatives would say, well, that might work at Pixar, but it wouldn't work here.
Mm.
And so I started to read a lot of research that there's this huge bias against creativity.
Ah,
Creativity is messy, it's circuitous, it's not linear, it's not optimizing for efficiency. It is not optimizing even for going from A to B and getting the biggest profit. That's not the mindset that
mm,
cultivates creativity.
yes.
So I decided I needed to switch my approach to meet people where they are. Like
Mm,
any consultant, what are the problems? What do you want to solve? Let's imagine that it's strategic planning. So I would dive in with my strategic planning consulting hat on, but I would sneak the creativity in through the back door. And so I remember this one retreat, I was working with PhD computer scientists. And
wow.
when I said, how do you feel about me bringing some paper and paint in for some of the conceiving of the problems that you're wrestling with? And they're like, oh no, that will never work with this crowd. This
Mm,
is an introverted, cerebral group of PhDs. I said, okay. So, we go in, we're doing the strategic planning. After lunch, I said to the director, I did bring these art supplies and it feels like the energy is kind of waning. It's after lunch. What do you say let's just give it a try. What do you think? And she said, yeah, go ahead.
Were you nervous? I would have been nervous.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
nervous. Yes. Um, and the energy in the room completely shifted. The
Mm,
people who had been, crossing their arms, show me what you have, or reticent to speak up, there was electricity in the room and people were laughing and connecting and smiling. And I have photographs that I look at to remember, like, yes, everybody has right under the surface this yearning to be like the kid we were with the crayons, and everybody thought they were a good artist until you get to the third grade, and then we're conditioned to think, no, I'm not good at art. And I remember this one man came up to me after the session, and he said the highlight was
wow.
painting with my colleagues, and my granddaughter has been asking me to do art projects with her, and I'm going to go home right now and I'm going to do an art project with my granddaughter. That was like,
Wow.
it opened him up to this appetite that we squelch in order to be serious people and do serious work. But sometimes the um, imagination expands, and what I did in that exercise is had them draw the future that they had been planning in this cerebral way, and it opened up all sorts of new ways of thinking. So that's what I've seen happen over and over again.
Yeah, and there's a neuroscience behind it, correct?
Yeah, there's this book by Ivy Ross and Susan Magsamen, and Susan is at Johns Hopkins, a science researcher. Ivy Ross is the head of design at Google, and it has all the science that proves what we've intuitively known, that there is this neural pathway that opens up that allows us to access our full intelligence and solve problems in a more powerful way.
Wow, that's fascinating when you really think of the link between creativity, art, and leadership. Like that doesn't seem like a natural fit, but it actually does because it uses more parts of your brain.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's why writing makes it real. I always tell people if you're trying to problem solve, write it with a pen
Yes,
and a paper if you have those.
yes.
Yeah, it's
Or walk out in the hills or through the trees, and you're going to start seeing a whole new way of solving your problems. So
I
yeah.
did a short that said, "Want to change your mood? Go outside."
Yes,
Because your brain has to
absolutely.
like start paying attention to things. And
Yeah.
what's really neat is that I met you through a friend, a mutual friend of ours, who told me about your TEDx that you did on March 8th in Sonoma County. Why good people become bad bosses. Did I get that title right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Tell me about that title and how you came to that in, intellectual property, and just tell me more about this.
Well, I've held a lot of pain about bad bosses. So, being a coach for the last 30 years, a lot of the pain I feel like I've held in with my coachees has been around toxic bosses. So,
Mm,
when I first started to think about this TED Talk, it was kind of from a finger wagging point of view. Like, I'm
mm,
going to tell all these bad bosses why they're bad and how they need to look in the mirror. And then I thought, wait a second, we all fall prey to becoming bad bosses. I have been a bad boss. And so I started to really think about some moments where I forgot about the effect my power was having on people, or how I like some people more than others, and my mistreatment might have really ruined someone's day. And so I started to get really honest with myself and really vulnerable and kind of courageous with myself to think about, okay, we all fall prey, including myself, to bad practices. It doesn't mean we're bad people. We are good people who, because of the stress and strain of the job of rising up to positions of power, we can lose our empathy simply because we want to get shit done, get stuff done,
it's
and we
okay.
want to we want to serve the company and do our job well. So the pivot that I think really made the difference in this TED Talk is that we all fall prey to power blindness. The higher
Mm,
up we go, the more we're likely to fall prey to losing sight of how it feels to be the one with less power, losing sight of how our tone of voice can ruin someone's day, how just the quick rejection of someone's idea can ruin somebody's day. And that just by virtue of our title, people stop telling us the truth. They don't tell us the true feedback. They laugh at our stupid jokes. And so we fall into this reality distortion. And so we need to work really hard to navigate that reality distortion.
and, and really be self-aware. Like my focus on the best bosses, which sounds great as a great polarity with you. Uh, it's very interesting how it's not often a tipping point where somebody goes good to bad. It's when the self-awareness almost decreases. And
Yes.
they don't realize, like you talk about being, if you really want to know, observe who's talking, observe who's not talking, and the power, the effect of power blindness may have on you before it's too late. And
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
It's not like a
interesting.
switch. You're right. That's really important because it's insidious. It's gradual.
Yeah. So give me some suggestions if I'm a boss. How do I notice
Yeah.
when it's starting to become an issue?
Yeah. I think you're right that so much of our work is done in meetings, noticing are people fully participating? What do people look like? Are they sharing themselves or are they trying to act smart in the room or are they not speaking up? Are people disagreeing with you? Are they challenging you? Are they giving you the tough feedback? And so the antidote to that is soliciting it in really creative ways because otherwise we're going to continue to perpetuate these inevitable blind spots that we all have. The
Can you give me
story
an
I
example
tell.
of how to do that?
So one of the things that one of my favorite bosses, the co-founder of Pixar, Ed Catmull, is he just had random lunches almost every day in the atrium of Pixar. So he was out of his C-suite beautiful office on the second floor and he would come and just talk with people, what's working, what's not. So one thing is get into the trenches. The other thing is get out of your what I call a trust map. Who are the regular people that you're soliciting ideas from, getting advice from? Who are you mentoring? Who are you promoting? Who are you sharing confidential information with? Get out of your echo chamber and reach out
Ah,
to people that aren't the usual suspects, people who might be in a completely different function, in a different company, different tenure, different age, different race, different level of education.
interesting, because the more I think about, um, like, how do you know? You have to almost assess it, because
Yeah,
that's the power.
we actually have an assessment, uh,
Mm,
one that's short about 10 questions, but one that's pretty exhaustive um, where leaders get a lot of ahas, realizing that we all think that most people, you've done research on this, you don't go to work thinking I'm a bad boss. I don't think people think that, right? And so, given if you believe we all fall prey to behaviors that aren't optimal, then we all need to regularly look in the mirror. And so these questions around are people disagreeing with us? When's the last time we got
mm,
feedback that kind of hurt? If the answer is I can't recall, then we probably are falling prey to some pretty steep uh,
mm,
power blindness.
it's an excellent point. And to wrap, I want to ask you, who's your best boss?
The person that just popped to mind is Catherine Serafian, and she is the Senior Vice President of Talent Strategy at
Mm,
Pixar. She also is the producer of the film Brave. And the reason that she pops to mind is that she always made me feel smarter. I would
ah,
get into the room with Catherine, and
excellent.
she expanded my confidence. And so many bad bosses do the reverse. I remember my worst boss, I just felt worthless. I felt less than, I felt reduced. With Catherine, I always felt like, wow, everything I say
Mm,
sounds smart in her midst because she would just dance with me and she would plus my ideas and she she was curious, she was authentic with me. We could be real together. I didn't have to wear any armor or pretend, and that creates such a cognitive load for so many people when they're trying to be on their best behavior with their bosses. And we had the good fortune of working together for many years, and challenging each other and giving each other the tough feedback reciprocally. It was a mutually rewarding relationship.
That's an excellent story. Somebody who helped inspire and give me confidence. We have heard
Yep,
it so many times before, even more confidence than you had in yourself.
absolutely. I know.
Uh,
I love that definition of good leaders, right? And
yeah,
Catherine was that. Even when I'm on the tennis court, sometimes I'll think about Catherine and she'll make me feel like, okay, I can get this serve
you
in.
get this
She just
ball, you
had
get
that
this ball.
effect on me. Yeah.
Jamie, how can people get in touch with you and Creativity Partners?
Well, Creativity Partners is at www.creativity-partners.com, and I'm at Jamie at creativity-partners.com.
Great. And
I
we'll have a
love these
link to
conversations with people.
Great. We'll have a link to your TED Talk and your contact information as soon as I get the link. So I cannot wait to see it. It's such a synchronous thing with me. The best boss and why good people become bad bosses.
I love the intersection of our work and the passion that we have for figuring out this. What is it that's a good boss? What is it that makes for bad bosses?
What is it? It's it and every bit counts. And so I thank you. I'm really interested also in your assessment too. So that
Yeah.
I love a good, quick assessment.
Yes.
10 questions, I can do 10 easily.
I'll share with you the 10 question version.
Oh, that'll be good. Maybe I can put it in a blog so
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
start to see it. Hey, Jamie, thank you. And I look
Thank you,
forward to
Diane.
future conversations.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.